Welcome back, everybody. It's HardstylerJosh here. I've come back with another video. Man, we got a huge new developer update for April. There's some huge news. When I say huge, I mean bam, huge. So we're gonna get into it. We're gonna read through it together, and I'll give you my thoughts and opinions. Look, I have read through this briefly before, but I want to go over it again and just digest the new information. So take your time. Sit down, have a glass of water, put on your big boy boots, all right? We're going to read the update together, okay? Some of the main topics that we'll be going over is the separate instances that they're going to be having for PvP and PvE in the deep desert, and also things like how's the times 2.5 on top of what we already get now resource multiplier going to do for PvPers like myself. Now, look, that being said, yes, I'm a PvP player. I played a lot of PvE as well. I do both. So let's get into it and have a bit of a squiz. Greetings, sleepers. It's time for our next look behind the curtain. We have a few major updates to discuss today regarding our development. Self-hosted servers with a customizable full gameplay experience and a rework of how PvP, PvE interact in Dune Awakening. Oh my god. Right. Balancing priorities. Oh wow, I've said this word a lot before. From our very first closed beta weekend, player feedback has been instrumental in shaping the game. We strive to iterate quickly, but game development is rarely linear. And our resources must constantly be balanced between polishing existing content, responding to live situations, preparing the console launch, and developing new features or content. Adjusting the scope and timing of content releases to match what our team can realistically deliver is an important part of that process. This year, you'll see a series of features aimed at giving you more ways to customize your experience on Arrakis. Some of these will arrive early on the PTC, giving us room to refine them based on your feedback. A few of these changes are planned to land with the patch 1.3.20.0, starting with a major shift in how conflict in the deep desert is handled. PvE First Open World Survival. We've always envisioned Arrakis as a tense place where players must master the desert to survive the scorching sun, lack of water, ever-present Shai-Hulud, and other hazards. We also want Dune Awakening to feel like a triumph of your own making. Players should have the agency to tailor their experience and gravitate toward other with similar motivations, coexisting within the community. Now, look, guys, this line is really important because they're kind of acknowledging that we deserve to have our own, experience in the game. I mean, like more specifically down to actually giving us customizable tools for our servers. That is huge. You got to understand that's huge. I'll touch base on that later, but just keep that in mind. Dune Awakening offers a variety of play styles. However, with over 80% of our lifetime players exclusively engaging with PvE content, the convergence of PvE and PvP, particularly in the deep desert, didn't align with our objectives and remained a significant topic of discussion. Right, and look, this is really important as well. Remember how it first was when we first started? You got out of what into the B grid and all the way to I was PvP, all right? Now, keeping this in mind, 80%, right, in their data is PvE is mostly people like going with PvE type of content. Now, look, in terms of funding and stuff, if you guys don't know how funding works, right, you have your statistics. Whatever's pumping out more of those numbers is what you're going to reflect to your, I don't know, service provider, whoever it is that's giving you funding. Maybe it's the Herbert Estate, whatever. And so you're gonna focus more on that aspect of the game. That's just how it is, right? If you're a good business owner, that's what you would do. Now, keep that in mind, okay? That's 80% of people mostly engaging with PvE content, despite how they had it in the start with the Deep Desert. Now, keep reading. Combining our goals, the in-game data, and the results of player surveys made it clear that we needed to rethink our approach and underline the PvE first nature of the game. While PvP conflict is an important aspect of Dune Awakening for some, it must be optional and incentivized rather than required for progression. Right? Incentivized is a definite key word, and I've been saying that for such a long time. New repeatable gameplay loops in Chapter 3 have alleviated some of these concerns. These new features include specializations, reworked Landsrad missions, and faction rank progression, and new scalable testing stations. To further emphasize the PvE first approach, we are making the following changes in patch 1.3.0.0. My PvPers, relax, take a deep breath, have a swig of your juice, all right? And just keep reading. I drink juice, so I'm just saying juice, all right? I'm not trying to troll you. Right, now look. All PvP zones in Haga Basin will be disabled across all official worlds.
Oh my god! What is that?
No, it's fine. Listen, look. All PvP zones in Haga Basin will be disabled across all official worlds. What does this mean? Okay, so this obviously means things like those PvP areas that you might have built your own arena in. Yes, it does suck, but they're still in the time period of considering it. We still have some time to make some noise, you know, respectful noise, please, guys. And we'll just see how it goes. But that does mean shipwrecks as well. Now, it says all official worlds, right? The worlds have a separate deep desert instance you can choose from. PVE instance for pure survival and exploration experience with no player combat. Okay, no player combat on the PVE instance. There is no PvP in this instance across any of the rows in the deep desert, including shipwrecks. PvP instance with the classic high-stake environment and open world conflict across rows B to I. What?
You're as beautiful as the day I lost you.
We're getting what we originally had back, and for the PvPers, just chill out for a second. PvPers, we wanted that. We wanted a large environment to just muck around in, right? Okay, so to make sure the rewards match the risk, the yield from mining and spice harvesting will be multiplied by 2.5 in PvP areas. This question has been asked before, and the community manager did answer that yes, this will be on top of what we get currently. So it's quite a lot, okay? 2.5 is big. We will talk about incentive later and what that kind of looks like, but let's keep reading. Now it says, by separating these experiences, we allow players to hunt for spice or explore Imperial testing stations without the constant threat of a blade in the dark, while ensuring those who live for the thrill of the hunt have a dedicated arena, prove their mettle, and the rewards to make it worthwhile. So obviously, there's obviously an arena that will eventually be there. The thing that I'm trying to say is that they're catering to both environments. This paragraph is really what they're saying, all right? PvEs don't want to be stabbed when they're going around the corner of a testing station. Oh man, those times were fun as a PvPer, but like genuinely, like PvP. PvPers, we obviously need that environment to get off on what it is that we do, right?
Dead.
Yeah, same.
Why can I not get a fucking finish? Oh my.
Briefing is something completely different, all right? That is completely different. Okay, PvEs, I know you guys hate PvPers for that. PvPers hate PvEs back. This whole constant loop needs to stop, all right? It's griefing and the ability to do it. We will talk about that shortly. Now, self-hosted servers are coming. Huge, all right? This is huge. We are thrilled to announce that self-hosting is coming to Dune Awakening. Whether you want to host a private server for friends or foster a community with unique roles, the power is moving into your hands. This is a lot of privilege, guys, all right? The initial iteration, which will be available for testing soon, will require a few extra steps to set up and feature a limited range of customization settings. That is huge. These settings will include resource harvesting rates, very huge, adjustable limits on base building pieces, amazing, or item durability, amazing, and base decay options. This is really good as well, with more customization settings being rolled out later. All of these customization options will also be available on private servers from the start. We're releasing it early to get feedback on this experimental version and improve it alongside you. More features and improvements will be added throughout the year. All right, guys, important word, feedback, all right? And respectful feedback. If you curse at them, if you are a bit like aggressive, they're not going to take it, all right? So just chill out, do it constructively. Now, full instructions on how to set up and customize self-hosted servers will be included in the patch notes when the feature becomes available, okay? Please be advised that the initial setup for the first iteration of the feature is more technical than most other games and requires a computer running Microsoft Windows Pro with Hyper-V in order to run these servers in a Linux virtual machine. So they'll have instructions is what they're saying, all right? And it'll get easier over time, supposedly. Now, we are, of course, still working on future updates, all right? New content is still coming, guys, all right? Content is still coming, all right? Remember the roadmap, chapter 4, all that good stuff. The goal is to work on improving these customization tools along with those releases. That's because You can't be giving out custom stuff and not stopping, not giving the main storyline and all that kind of content to them as well. So that's still going to happen, right? So we will talk about that in Dune time.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the?
I pretend I didn't read that. Look, we are excited to continue crafting a survival experience that can stand the test of time in the new era of Dune Awakening. Thank you for walking this path with us. Now, there's a few questions here as well, all right? So there's a bit of a Q&A here. Why is self-hosting more complicated than in Conan Exiles? Because Dune Awakening runs on a larger, more complex world instead of a single server. It uses multiple maps that start and stop as needed, plus a database, Postgres, to keep track of all player and world data. Question: will self-hosting always work like this? No. This is an early experimental version. Our goal is to make hosting easier, more accessible, and less technical over time. What are the hardware requirements for hosting my own server? A, it depends on how many players are playing at once and what they're doing. The minimum configuration we have tested to work is the following. I'm not going to read that out. You guys can look at that. On hardware like that, you can safely play the game with 1 to 4 players with normal activity, playing together and building standard size bases. And if everyone is on the same map at the same time. CPU and RAM requirements increase rapidly with the number of players and number of maps. Question: can I run the server directly on a Linux machine instead of running it on VM or Windows? A, technically yes. We do not yet support a streamlined installation for that. You're free to experiment with that though. Question: will the server customization be made available to private servers? Yes. All server settings will be available to private servers as we release them, though hosting providers may implement them differently. Okay, that's also important to know. Can I transfer my character to a self-hosted server? Answer: yes. You will be able to transfer your character from official and private servers to self-hosted. However, you won't be able to transfer it back from a self-hosted server. So once it's there, it can't come back, guys. All right? Back to the official servers. You might be able to transfer it to certain private servers, but for this, private server providers need to accept character transfers from self-hosted servers. So obviously these private servers will have their own rules as well. And some of it comes down to the ISP, okay, the internet service providers. Now, question: how many players can join a self-hosted server? Answer: this is determined by the hardware you use, but the upper limit is the same as official servers. Tiger Basin will be capped at 40 concurrent players, but you could technically host your own world with multiple sieges. However, we expect most people will not have access to the hardware required to do that and will be capped to 1 siege or 40 players concurrently. Question: does self-hosting cost money? Answer: Funcom will not charge players additional money for this feature, but you may incur additional costs depending on your agreement with your ISP. Question: can I host on Linux or cloud providers? Answer: the initial version requires Windows Pro with Hyper-V. Additional options may be explored later. Can I customize PvP rules? Guys, this is a really, really good question. They've already answered it. Yes, that is one of the customization options available in this first iteration. Right? There'll be more. That's a lot of information. I know, guys. Like, Jesus, just chill out. All right, chill out. Everyone has been going ape at each other. All right, we all love Dune. We are all here for the same reason. Now, I want to address something. Okay. Earlier, it says here 80% of their lifetime players are engaging with PvE content. Whatever it is they're doing, that is their priority. It has to be that way. I'm not saying they have to forget about PvP. Remember, I'm a PvP player. I love PvE, but I also really love PvP. They have to dedicate most resources to that. They're not going to say it, right, because it will cause unrest. But by logical thinking, not using your feelings, right? Take a deep breath and then think about it logically, right? That is where most resources need to go. Now, this is something I really want to talk about as well. Conan Exiles. I never played it, right? I've seen people play it, but I know for a fact in some way it's similar to Rust where you can have your own servers, all right? And not all servers are PvP, but primarily there's a lot of role play, but there's also a lot of PvP servers on Conan. Now, based off of that, that's technically a successful game, right? So you got to think about it. They have the recipe to do PvP already. Dune is completely different because a lot of people are playing the PvE stuff. You know what I mean? So it's not like they don't have any idea. Now, on the second point of that, we have seen them make mistakes, right? As PvP players, we genuinely feel we weren't heard. I know a guy, I'm not going to name drop him, he knows who he is. Look, legend for doing this, but, you know, it's hard work. He posted a series of Reddit posts where he, you know, went on and on about the different PvP changes, specifically to melee. There's a very heavy long-range meta at the moment. We all like things that change, right? Look, he addressed it pretty fine. It was pretty aggressive at the same time, though. I'll say that. But you get annoyed when you feel like you're not being heard, okay? So, anyways, in his defense, he posted a really, you know, fair enough Reddit post about how all these changes affected PvP. And, you know, he gave a lot of great examples. And we never had anything since then. Like, once that crippling strike nerf came in, it stopped range. It allowed range players to keep getting away a lot more easier. Me as a range player, man, it's too easy. Okay, I'll be honest, it's too easy. You're just cheesing your way through it. There needs to be some sort of retention for us on both scales in terms of PvP. All right. So look, they've made their mistakes. Okay, they've copped a lot of slack, but you guys got to remember, man. As much as we just want to sit down and play a game, this is people's livelihoods. This is people's careers. And yes, they're allowed to make mistakes. The same way you or myself or your children make mistakes. That's how they learn, right? One thing I will say is this whole argument around PvP and PvE needs to stop. I'm going to show you guys something, and I want you to pay attention to it because I've been here from the start, you know, in the beta, and I want to show you guys, all right? So look, the argument against PvP is, let me go to a fresh page here, all right, is the argument is PvP is griefing, is incorrect, all right? And remember, I have done a lot of PvE content. I don't go around with thumpers or Holtzman shields calling the worm. Unless it's my guild mate, I like to troll him a lot. But other than that, I don't do it, okay? It's not fun. It's not genuine PvP. The PvP experience I had was large clan battle scale. Even the solos and even the duos got on board, or we helped them out. Hey, if they came by a testing station, we're not going to cockblock them. All right, we're going to let them play. All right, so we're different to everybody else. It's not all the same, okay? Now, actual griefing are things like, you know, using the thumpers in a PvE area where it's not intended. You got to remember, their T&C state that deliberately interrupting someone's gameplay as it is not intended is griefing. PvE is not intended to have any kind of like fighting with another person or to get them killed. People would be using thumpers to call the worm in a PvE zone to stop that farmer from farming. Pretty annoying, right? Imagine you're there, you've done an 8-hour shift during the day, you want to come home, relax, play Dune, and you got some idiot calling the worm. It's not great, man. Okay. But anyways, that is an example of griefing. That is not PvP. There are some monkeys out there who really enjoy doing that. Okay, and if you're one of them, all right, I get you. You're getting off doing your own thing, but like in this situation, it is actually not helping. Okay, this whole cycle. Oh, PvP is bad. PvE is bad. Stop. Okay, I'm gonna draw it right now on Dune. This is the game, right? Here's the circle of life, mate. Now you've got. Let's say, where's the, oh, okay, about half, let's just say about halfway. This line here, all right, we'll make it red. You can't really see it. Anyways, look, this line here is the E grid, halfway through the E grid. All of this is PvP, okay? You see all this? This is all PvP. All of this stuff here is PvE. Now look, dude, we've given so much feedback, and if you don't feel heard, this is why. In the middle, right, in the middle here, on this line, you've got people who are farming, right, in the PvE zone. They're all farming here. They're all farming up here as well, okay? You've got people coming. They're not even from the PvP zone. They're just people coming to annoy you. They're coming here and they're putting thumpers down, disrupting PvP experience. Now, the thing is, there are some people as well that are coming from PvP to do this. And this is why I do think the instances need to be separated just for now. Okay, they're coming down and they're putting thumpers, right? Do you see how it's crossing this line? Do you see how all of this stuff is very close to each other? What I'm saying is that it's all around this very blurred line of what is PvE and what is PvP. How do I know this? Because I know that for a fact that when this briefing kind of happens, it gets referred to another team. All right, I've seen it said by the community manager. I'm not saying it happens all the time. It might be obvious, but a lot of the time another team will look at it. Okay. Because you've also got to look at, like, what's the intention behind that player's doing that. Because they're using an actual item that's allowed in the game, such as a thumper, to do this. So they've got to kind of gauge what's their intention, right? It's not black and white. It's a case-by-case thing, right? Which is why you might feel some of your tickets haven't been answered. So it's very blurred. This is the idea. It's very blurred across this line. Now, going to a new diagram here, you've now got PVE and you've now got PvP. Now remember, this is all under one world. This is how it's going to be. So you're going to be separated. I don't know about Hacker Basement, but probably not. But anyways, now do you see how it's split? If you're a team member looking at that situation, you can kind of tell, oh, you're in the PvE area doing this. This is not meant to happen. This is intentional. They can easily identify, right? I'm going to draw a little magnifying glass. They can identify this issue that's causing it, right? That right there. This issue, they can see it, right? They're looking at the magnifying glass, they can see it. And I also say it's magnified because now that they're separated, right, you can actually identify the issues. If we go back to this diagram, it's all together, man. You know what I mean? There's too much commotion from the communities who need different things, right? You PvEers need different things. PvPers need different things, right? Now, let me tell you, the griefers are not PvPers. They might PvP, but they're not all PvPers. You guys have got to stop calling all PvPers griefers. And PvPers, you guys have to respect that this stuff is happening to them. And even though it's not from us, like even though they're having a rant at us, it doesn't help. Like we're not responsible for it, all right? We know that we just like getting on the game, clicking heads, exploding things, all right? For the most part. Griefers, man, they live in their own world. They're monkeys. They don't care about the game to that degree. They just want to either get content, right? Or they just want to muck around, okay? That's how they get off. But look, all in all, in conclusion, I'm saying separate instances of this will help magnify those issues without being blurred into the PvP or PvE community, right? They're separate. And that's what I like about it. They can't have people, right? In terms of funding, you've got to present your data. The data is going to be more easily read because it's very separate. And they're going to be able to present that. Now, not only that, right? And I know this because I work in a service around community services. And how it works dealing with people and the community and funding streams. And sometimes you can show the data and people can quite literally say no. That does happen, all right? But I'm saying in this instance that they'll be able to look at the data separately. And now, as the community, your responsibility, this is the other thing that's really important. I can't stress this enough. If you guys spent half of the time you did ranting about the game, whether you're a PvE player or PvP player or both, putting in a constructive breakdown step as to how this will help the game, how your opinion will help the game, you'd actually have positive changes. But people are in there just pecking at each other. Pointless conversation. Stop thinking with your emotions. Think logically. Take a breath and think, look, I like this game. I'm sitting here playing it 8 hours a day. Geez, I should probably contribute towards it. All right? Bro, just break the message down. Like the other guy I was talking about did that, but the only issue was that it was slightly passive aggressive, so they probably haven't looked at it properly. I mean, they probably have looked at it properly, but we haven't been shown that they've taken it into consideration. Why? Probably because there were so many aggressive people under that thread as well on Reddit. Okay? Now look, them being separate is going to allow us, as the community members, to raise the issues a lot more clearly being away from PvE, all right? All of us PvP monkeys, we can get in there and go, look, these are the issues we are finding. It's going to be more obvious. It's going to be faster said. There has to be more action taken towards it. It might not be prioritized. Remember, they said that in the developer update, right? Let me highlight it. See that? Priorities. What do you know? That's exactly what they're doing, right? Based on the 80% of engagement they had in that stat. We'll get onto the screenshots in a minute. Now, basically, they have to prioritize that. But it doesn't mean that we now don't have the opportunity to magnify it and raise it. We do, and they're separate. PvEs have this space. They've also got PvE content now as well, all right? A lot of it needs to be revamped, we know, but they'll work on it. And the PvPers have got their space, all right? It's like I feel like Funcom's like the parent trying to parent two siblings who just keep going at it, man. Like, y'all just need your own space. Just relax. That being said, guys, if you've got feedback, please, for God's sake, I know it feels like you're beating a dead horse, but the literal thing is, look at all those people in Discord just shouting at them, sending in garbage tickets. You're making it harder for them to actually sift through comments that are good. Okay? You're making it hard for them. At the end of the day, man, these people are just doing their jobs. They get on, they go to the office, they do whatever it is they can, and then they go right back home. Okay, just make it a bit easier. Everybody would like to work in place a bit easier. All right. This is why I think it's better if it's separate. Just my opinion. Now, look, we shouldn't have to, but like by nature, most people have done PvE content, mostly doing it. All right. And if you want money, you got to present the data and work towards the stuff that's more prevalent than the other. Just how it is. I don't like it because I'm a PvP player, but I have to accept it. Acceptance is a beautiful thing. Now, I'm going to move on to some of these screenshots, all right? It's always good to go into the Discord, guys, and have a look and see what the actual developers are doing. Vlad, Vanessa, Iggy, community manager. See what they're saying at least, just to try and gauge the situation. Okay, so look, this is also another example in terms of like feedback, all right? So this guy had made a really good point, all right? Let's read it. You keep referring to the data, and this is a response to the community manager, all right? And I don't have anything against community manager, but I will acknowledge that there's sometimes mistakes and lack of communication. Right, you keep referring to the data that supposedly justifies your decisions, but you're not acknowledging the most important factor. If there is no incentive to participate in PvP, players simply won't engage with it. Naturally, your metrics will reflect for low PvP activity because you've designed a system that gives players no reward to be there in the first place. Imagine if the new overland dungeons you introduced only rewarded the exact same loot as basic PvP stations, with no graded gear, no progression, and nothing unique to earn. The data for those dungeons would show low participation as well. Would that mean that PvE is dead? Of course not. It would mean that content was released without meaningful rewards. That's exactly what's happening with PvP. You keep citing figures that only reinforce the design decisions you've already made. But if players had a real incentive, actual rewards, gear progression, something worth fighting for, PvP participation would rise dramatically. Right now, there is zero reward for taking the risk and engaging with other players. So why would anyone bother? The system is built to fail, and then the low engagement gets used to justify not improving it. Meanwhile, your decisions constantly show that PvE is being stretched thinner and thinner, and the player numbers reflect that over time. This is not a solo game. If you want players to interact, compete, and create memorable experiences, you need to make it worthwhile. Reward people for engaging with other players. Give them something exciting to strive for. Because right now, the design philosophy is actively undermining the very content you're measuring. Look, it's a fair comment, you know what I mean? Like, it's not too aggressive. Fair enough, okay? It's a little bit accusatory, but like at the same time, we're just, that person's just reflecting some of the stats that we're being told, right? Because of the way it's been designed. And it's not all designed, but they're obviously, like they said, they're prioritizing on the PvE content. I do completely agree with some of this. I agree that this is literally what's happening with PvP. We don't have an incentive. And if you've been there on Nerdbird's stream, shout out to Nerdbirds and his community, and Beast, who's been there, like contributing a lot to those roundtable discussions. Like, bro, we need incentive. The same way PvEers need incentive to go past level 40 or 20 in the dungeon. It's the same for us PvPers, you know. And there's, just off the top of my head, I've said it so many times, and I know people agree, but like, Funcom, if you're listening, like, please, basic incentive, something like leaderboards would be great. Please don't, you know, turn away the fact that we would like a PvP arena, one that's big enough to do both types of PvP as well, or ornithopter fighting. Because I know that there was a lot of outcry saying that, oh, you know, we can see that you guys are really against us leaving it up to you, the players, to make your own arenas. Oh, we actually want you to provide a space for us, like, please. Sure, if custom servers are doing that, that's great. But remember, not everyone is going to be playing on a custom server. Now, on that other note is like incentive, okay? Incentive's really important.
More.
And you guys know that. So, I don't know, titles, you know, you get like a little title above your character's head or like on your profile that says, I don't know, cool, and it's purple or something like that. You know what I mean? Aesthetics that don't change the mechanics of a game are healthy, right? I would pay $100, mate. I'll pay more than $100 right now.
Shut up and take my money.
Just to have different building skins, right? Obviously, we know you can't go crazy with it. You're tied to the Dune IP, which is huge. But like, we'd pay for that. Listen, I'll pay for skins. Bring back the Chome event, by the way. I missed it. But, you know, incentives like that, which don't change the mechanics, would be great, man. You know, I don't know. Maybe you go for like a week wipe, and at the end of the wipe, whoever got the most kills or house damage or something like that, got rewarded off of that. And it doesn't mean that you can't make that exclusive to PvP, because I know that yes, rewards need to be equal to some way. Doesn't mean the PvE version or players don't have their version of that. Maybe they can have that for dungeons, right? I've seen it. I've played like 10 years worth of gacha games. I've seen it, man. Healthy incentives definitely aren't there. And we need that. We actually need that. For some of us, sure, we can just get off on the idea of seeing an explosion. We're not all like that. So I definitely agree with some of these points. And I understand that you also don't want to answer things which are like kind of accusatory in such an open space, man, when plenty of people are attacking you. Let's not talk about what happened to Joel a while back, all right? Hank asked this question here. Will you handpick really simple and harmless questions such as, will there be any new skins with the update? And that was a quoted question. Will there be any new skins with the update? Iggy said, no, but I will generally avoid passive-aggressive remarks. Remember, Iggy is the community manager. He's like the gap between the developers and us. Bro, it's the only bridge we have, and he compiles a lot of that data from feedback to that team. That's what he would be doing. All right? You need to go easy on it, man. Seriously. Like, I'm not saying the UK as well, but like, just anybody, man. If you've got something, obviously keep putting it out there like you have. I do agree that I wouldn't be answering passive-aggressive remarks as well. Like, it needs to be done healthily. You reinforce that environment because there's a lot of people in there that are just going at each other, man. Fair question though as well, all right? Now, Pake said, look, can you respond to what Fat Slug said earlier? Fat Slug made this comment here, all right? Just for context. Put a lot of thought and made a perfect sense, yada yada. Iggy said, it was noted and added to the list. But I want to be clear here that this, while pointing and answer this then, is not going to fly, all right? Because there is a lot of people who are just saying, answer this then, answer this then. Dude, I don't see any other community managers. I'm not going to lie. And you got to remember the ratio of one person to so many. No wonder why, like, he takes so many copies, man. I'm telling you. You can call me a Funcom Glazer. I'm not thinking emotionally about it, all right? I'm using my rational part of my brain. Anyways, I'm just saying, like, I know how it works. Working in community services, under different funding streams, I understand how some of it works, okay? And as a community member, I understand communication and communal need. Guys, you've got to get your feedback in a constructive way. This whole thing of sending in garbage tickets, you know, whatever. Look, if you got to send in 50 bugs because you're not hearing anything, like, you know, I'm not saying bombard them, but genuinely, if we as a community haven't feel heard, please use it. Press the, you know, use the bug option. All right, request help, the bug option, whatever it is, feedback. The game has been around for like what, almost a year or something like that. It's still not mature. Dune is a massive IP as well, guys, and they have to go where the most data is reflected. Doesn't mean they're going to ignore us, but look, balancing priorities. I said it before, and literally here it is. So you know, the fact. So I'm just kind of stating what is already obvious to me anyway. And really, if you've worked in a business, you'll understand that. Okay, we should be grateful that we're actually getting our own spaces to coexist. All right, we don't need to go kissing each other. But I'm saying we can just chillax a little bit. Now, PvP, a 2.5 multiplier increase on top of what we already have is huge. If you are in a massive clan and you want to do PvP, or if you're not, by the way, a duo or a solo, you still benefit from war. You can influence the tide of the war. Get involved. You're going to need a lot of resources, man. Because what's going to happen is this one group's going to sit there on top of this hill on Titanium Island and just control it the whole week. Mate, they're going to be loaded. They're going to have so much. You need to fight for that. Like, PvPers, you must rise up in your clan and take them on. You know what I mean? Or I don't know, a bunch of solo and duos make a house together or something like that, you know? Make a guild together. Mate, all the screaming and the aping that you see can all happen again on your own server. You have the tool to do that. The fact that they have acknowledged that and given us our own space, maybe because they don't know what they're doing or they don't know how to work around it, right? At least they've given us control. You got to be grateful for that. Not a lot of companies do that. Think about life, man. You go out, you want to choose your job, your course, your friends. You can do that. You know what I mean? Like, customization is great. Speaking of customization, please give us more cosmetics. But like, seriously, customization is great. We have to be grateful for that. And the guys, like I said, Dune Awakening is still maturing. Really, it is. There's a lot of bugs. There's a lot of this and that. But just get your feedback in constructively. And if you're frustrated, I don't know, man, don't like harass other people. Don't harass the community manager. Don't harass the developers. Look after yourself. You step back, realize that all the going on around the world, this is nothing compared to that. Sometimes this is all the peace that you or I might have, man, is coming home and playing a game. You know? So just take a breath, man. Like, work out, drink some water, go for a walk. You know, sand is nice, but you do have to touch grass, guys. Okay. So that being said, that is the final thing I ever want to say about this argument. And I hope that you guys can share this video to your friends or your guild members or whatever it is. I'm being very considerate of PvE players and PvP players. Even Isra from Nerdbert's community, he raised a good point on how the bread and butter should be PvE content, because that's how many games over time have done it. Then they've added in a little bit of PvP and sprinkled some different flavors on it. Okay? That's just always how it's going to be. Doesn't matter. But yeah, look, those are my closing thoughts. Enjoy the game. I think we've got some exciting things coming. We really do. If you're a PvE player, if you're a PvP player, we do. And just help create a nice space, you know. Players and guilds that have been here for a while, and you've got heaps of stock, you know, and there's been shortcuts, and you might have been tempted to take some, and you got like a lot of stuff. Like, just cut back a bit, man. Take a break. Put it aside as like vault storage or something like that. I don't care if it's your dupe silo, whatever it is, man. Start fresh. Make a new character. Make a new clan. Turn to hardcore. Turn to Atreides and enjoy it. Because I've made a guild, right? Shout out ICS, the Imperium contract system. All right, all the new members and my little monkey friends. It's been fun, man. It's been a blast. I've got over 1,500 hours. Okay, and I didn't load myself up, so I feel like I have more to do. And even if I didn't, I'd make a new character just to force myself into enjoying the game again. Mid and early game, so fun. Once you get to late game, it can be a challenge, man. But it's nice if you have the right environment. So people coming into the game right now, from the sales, end of financial year sales, the Dune movie coming out, like, there's going to be a lot of funding opportunities for Funcom, I feel, just in my opinion. There will be growth. Oh yeah, there will be growth, 100%. So I do think it's an exciting time, right? I think it's genuinely an exciting time. I've seen players come into it now and have a lot of fun. Like I said to those bigger guilds, man, get back involved, but like reset. Do a bit of a reset, okay? Help yourself out a bit with your resources if you've got a large community. Other than that, like, I think Dune's in good hands, man. I really do. I think people have got the wrong thing. I get it. You got a little bit of PTSD and trauma from Funcom. It happens, man. Life goes on. But like, life does go on. The game is going to keep evolving and updating. It's a huge IP, man. You guys would have seen my Reddit post that I made about how the same title as this video, but like, Battlefront 2 was dying, man. Star Wars Battlefront 2 was dying, and literally the community themselves, actual people, right, not developers, they like reverse coded like modding and everything into it and got permission, and they've got their own servers where Star Wars Kyber now exists. Shout out to Navy Johnny, by the way, best Star Wars Battlefront streamer. That game's been a successful game to a degree, okay? It's still got a huge community there, and if you're that dedicated towards it, especially such a big IP like Star Wars or Dune, it's going places by default. Look, that's all I've got to say about Dune. I hope you guys enjoyed my kind of take on where the game is at the moment, what we can potentially look forward to, what will change. If you disagree, fair enough. Give the thumbs down. Leave me a comment on what you think it is. Would love to hear about what you guys want to hear about next from me. I'm happy to talk about both sides of the game, PvE and PvP. I will be streaming on Twitch, Kick, and YouTube. I've got some other content you guys can check out. The Discord's down there as well if you want to have a bit of a chat or yarn. Yeah, anyways, that's it for me, guys. Take care of yourselves, and let's all enjoy Dune together. Dune Awakening. That's what I like to say. Dune Awakening. Dune is awakening. Anyways, guys, take care. See ya.